Hey guys, welcome back to the AmeriTaiNadian Podcast. I know it's been has it been like almost a year since we've done an episode? I don't even know now.
In a long time. The last one we did was the post-election special, right?
Oh,
I
and
think.
that was in January of last year, eh?
Yeah, God. Okay.
Jesus.
In a
Yeah,
long,
it's
long
been
time.
a long
Yeah.
time, yeah. Since then, I guess I can't remember when you told me your decision, but I'm pretty sure it was like a couple months after our last episode. So, Um, as you can, I'm probably going to put this in the title. So if you're watching this, you probably already know the American here who has lived in Taiwan for the past 8 years and has never left since he first arrived to Taiwan has made the decision after 8 years to leave. Um, and today we're in this episode, we're going to talk about why, because if you follow me on social media, every once in a while I'll post positive things about Taiwan, and to some people that have paid attention, it must have been really really repetitive. So it'll be really interesting to hear, something that I'm doing here today and talk about why somebody might actually want to leave as opposed to why somebody might want to stay. So Brian, I'll turn it over to you. Do you have any first introductions that you wanted to make?
Yeah, sure. Welcome everybody. Thanks for listening. I know it's been a long time, but I'm glad we're back and we're doing another one. And yeah, let's dive right into the topic. For starters, I'm still here. I haven't left yet. Immigration is actually a very difficult thing to do. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of money.
Immigration to be an official like immigrant status to Taiwan, right?
To immigrate, to get my wife to immigrate to the United
Oh,
States
okay. I thought you were
as a
talking
foreigner
about. Okay, I thought you were talking about
is
yourself as in Taiwan.
no, no, no,
Okay,
no,
right.
no.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a U.S. citizen, so going back is
yeah.
that's simple, right?
Oh, no, no. I
And
meant
my
for you to become like an official status in Taiwan. I don't know what they would
Yeah,
call
well,
that.
we can talk about that too,
Yeah.
if you want. But just the reason I'm still here in Taiwan, even though I've decided that I want to leave, is because the immigration process for getting a foreigner into the United States legally and properly it's long, it's complicated, it takes a lot of money, takes a lot of patience,
Yeah.
right? We've been messaging back and forth about it, and I've just like honestly, I've probably just gotten started. I just did the first step, and there's a bunch more steps to go. So
Yeah, Family Guy did an episode about how like I think they left the country for like vacation and somebody burned all their passports and they tried to get back.
yeah,
They had to try to get back in, and then they showed how it was like what process after process. They asked for
it's
one
hard,
thing and
dude.
then
People don't think about that. They think, oh, immigration, everybody just comes in and they can just do whatever the hell they want.
you know
No, not even close. It's really hard.
you might actually even argue if the process was more comprehensive or simpler, that might actually reduce illegal immigration, right?
Oh, most definitely,
Right?
most definitely. Look, if it wasn't so difficult, if it didn't take so long, if it wasn't so damn expensive, then yeah, people would be like, all right, I'll wait because it's not that big of a deal. But like, you can't tell somebody who's desperate that they need to wait a year or a
Yeah.
year and a half and pay thousands of dollars and then have a little asterisks down at the bottom that
Five
says, "Oh,
asterisks.
by the way, by the way, you might lose everything. We might not approve you, and those fees that you paid are non-refundable." Like,
Yeah.
okay, right? You see what I'm saying? If you change things, if you did some reform, like it would most definitely cut down on that. You
Yeah.
know, people wouldn't throw their hands up and say, "Screw it, I'm just gonna go in illegally because doing it properly is too damn hard." You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I mean, immigration is a huge topic, and
Yeah.
we're not gonna spend like,
It's a big topic here. There's a
yeah.
reason why we don't have a lot of immigration here, even though we need it, if you ask me, because of population decline. And even though we have uh, friends, or can I say, yeah, all right, friends or allies right across the water in Hong Kong who are desperate to get out, right?
Right.
And they need somewhere to go.
And
I don't know. It's a complicated subject. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, we've talked about immigration and becoming like, there's the well, there's a YouTuber. Her name is Kelsey May. If you search Kelsey May Taiwan, you'll find her. She's a Canadian that married a Taiwanese guy, and they live in Taiwan. And she brings up that if his husband wanted to go to Canada and become a Canadian citizen, he could do that without having to give up his Taiwanese citizenship and passport. But if you want to become
a very important
distinction,
there.
Yeah, if you want to become a Taiwanese citizen, you have to give up your other citizenship.
That's right. You have to renounce your original citizenship, and there's no getting out of that.
Yeah, and
unless there's a small handful of individuals who've been granted the privilege of retaining their original citizenship.
Right.
But you have to be like a celebrity, like a millionaire. You have to have been in like movies,
which is ridiculous.
Invented like like a vaccine, or invented like a machine, and have dozens of patents and trademarks attributed to you.
Yeah,
you have to be like top notch. Like a normal person, no chance. No chance.
And that's, I don't think. Well, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna ask the American here. Do you think that like, I would imagine that the rule for if America, for example, had this rule, that it would be applied equally across the board. Like, doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or anything, right? Like, you would still have to follow that rule, right? Do you think?
Yeah, I would say so.
Because I don't think I don't know if, I mean,
unless we opened up like a program for like exceptional people.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, in my mind, because I don't know. Every once in a while, you will hear like Hollywood actors that come from the UK or other countries, and like working in America, they every once in a while they bring up like, oh, I'm not a U.S. citizenship. I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I'm in the process of doing visa stuff. So like, even celebrities kind of have to go through that in America, right?
Yeah.
So
although they have it easy because they can hire a team of lawyers and make everything go fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if you're higher on the socioeconomic ladder, everything
there's an element of class in there for sure.
Everything becomes easier as you move up the ladder, right?
For sure. I had a friend who lived here from France, right? And he's since left a long time ago, but I remember just like a quick little story, a little anecdote that he told me, is he had a friend from France who was working in the United States at a vineyard, right, where they make wine. And he was doing really well, and he liked the job. He was enjoying it because it was something he was passionate about. He liked wine. He was very interested in it, right? He's very good at his job, and he wanted to become an American. He wanted to stay in America, right? And the process to get that done was just so onerous and so expensive. And he like asked the people that were helping him, he's like, is there any way we can like, speed this up or make this easier? And they just flat out told him, like, if you want to do it this way that you've been doing it, it's going to take forever and it may or may not happen. Or you can drop like, I don't know what he even said. They're like, you can drop like $30,000 on my desk right now and we'll get this done in about a month. Something like that, right? Like I'm paraphrasing and I'm probably not remembering the details totally correctly, but they said something to that effect. Like, you drop like $30,000 on my desk right now, we'll get this done in about a month.
Jeez.
Which just shows you the difference, right? Like, if you
sounds honestly kind of like a third world country.
Like if you have money, they're just like, oh, step right up, sir. Like this way, right? But if you're like a regular person, they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to wait, and it may not happen for you. We'll see, right?
Yeah.
So there's different privileges for the different classes. You know, like it's obvious.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't know. Like, okay, as we all know, the party that's in power in Taiwan right now is the Democratic Progressive Party, right? You would imagine that they would want to do something about this, being the Progressive Party, right? But as we know, labels don't actually mean much, right? And
Democratic People's Republic of Korea is no such thing.
True,
right?
True. Well, although, okay.
It's the people, right? Like, we could go on and on.
Yeah.
These labels just don't mean much.
But the DPP is the more progressive party in Taiwan, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, they're always going to have that because they can say, like, we came from a pro-democracy dissident movement, and the people we're against came from a tradition of what
Authoritarianism.
dictatorship,
Yeah.
authoritarianism, right? Military rule, blah blah blah. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, just like you would think that the Progressive Party would, want to make these progressive amendments to
Sure,
immigration.
but for reasons XYZ, they don't, right? And like I said, labels don't mean much. You actually have to look at actions, right? Actions mean more than words. You are what you do, right? You're not what you say. You are what you do.
So why do you think
So,
the DPP wouldn't want to amend immigration?
I mean, there's a few different reasons, right? So, like, number one, there is this kind of, I would characterize it as like this kind of like ugly streak of like ethno-nationalism that's like wrapped up in the DPP.
I can understand that coming from the KMT, right? But the DM,
No, but it's in the DPP too, and but it comes from a different place, right? Like KMT comes from a place of like
Chinese.
Han, yeah, Han supremacy, like
Yeah.
Han nationalism,
Yeah.
right? Tied to that, like a very maybe like a broader like Han
Yeah. Han.
nationality or a broader Han identity, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the DPP, it has a nationalism of its own, but it's more focused and specific, right? It's a Hoklo, right? It's a Minnan nationalism, right? So that means the people who have been here in Taiwan since like the 1600s and who speak Taiwanese, right? Taiyu.
Right.
That group of people specifically, like that's the nationalism that they focus on, and that streak runs through the DPP. It always has, right?
Interesting.
And so you have people who some people have like a really nasty like xenophobic attitude, right? And they think like, oh, if we let these people in,
they're gonna replace us.
If we let them join, like if we let them in and if we let them join the club, so to speak, that they're gonna come in and they'll change everything. Like Taiwan will cease to be Taiwan. Taiwan will be no more, right? Like somehow, I mean, it's kind of goofy because first of all, let them in. Well, we're already here. It's just like we're not citizens. You know what I mean?
No.
We're here. We're working. We're paying taxes. We're paying fees to stay here, but we're just not citizens, right? We don't have full rights.
Right.
So it's not that like we're going to invade because we're already here.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You can't invade if you're already here, right? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. And then for number two, for second of all, like they assume that there's no effort put into and there's no attempt to assimilate, and that's just not true. Like we try hard because we have to. Like you have to try to learn Guoyu, like Mandarin, right? Because if you don't, your life's going to be really difficult. Like yeah, you can get by in Taipei without being fluent, but you're still going to have difficulties. There's a lot of things that you need to use the language to communicate with people to get things done. You know what I mean?
So how would you grade your?
We try with the language. We follow the same holidays. We try to learn about Taiwan. We try to fit in. It's not like we come here and we have an attitude like, screw you. I'm going to create my own little bubble.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, enforce my foreignness in my bubble, and I'm going to slowly take over from the inside.
How would you grade your Mandarin after 8 years of being in Taiwan?
Not fantastically well. Like I'm not gonna suck myself off, but right. But I'm not like a total beginner either. Like when I first stepped off the plane, I didn't know anything.
Yeah. Can you hold a conversation? I've never actually
like a short one. Like I've had conversations with like grandmas in a park.
Yeah.
Right. Like with simple, like just a simple back and forth. Like, where are you from? What's your name? Where are you from in America? Like where exactly are you from? What state are you from?
Can you say
your kid? How old are your kids? Blah blah blah.
Can you say the states in Mandarin? Or do you just say the English?
Few of them, like Texas is Dogo, right?
Oh wow, very good. Yeah. Which is
I mean, there's a few of them. Like,
yeah.
And I know like a few like city names, like San Francisco is like Jojin-san.
Oh
right?
yeah.
right? Am I right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, I only know a couple of
But
them
yeah, I got a
myself.
few things here and there. Like, so I don't know. I think I'm on the border between beginner and like intermediate. I'm on the border. I'm somewhere in the gray area.
Okay, that's fair.
So
And I guess to be fair, like you
I've
speak
never taken a class, that's for sure.
and you speak English at your work, right? You teach English in English.
Well, that's the purpose of my work, so I kind of have to. And they even tell you like no Chinese,
Oh wow,
no
okay.
Chinese. Yeah, no, like they enforce strictly. They're like never ever speak Chinese.
That's
to
good.
kids.
That's good.
Never.
Yeah.
Although I got to tell you, sometimes if I'm in the room alone and the kids are really struggling and they just don't get it, and they're like, ting budong, ting budong, I'll just like whisper it to them, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, okay, good. And I'm like, shh.
That's funny.
Quiet.
I spoke your language. Don't tell anyone.
The older ones appreciate that. The younger ones, like, it blows their mind. They're like, what?
You just spoke Mandarin? Yeah.
Like, oh my God, he knows the code.
He knows the code. Yeah.
He knows the code.
Yeah. Okay.
How did he figure it out?
All right. So basic immigration stuff out of the way. Why don't you just tell everyone briefly, because we've briefly talked about this before. Why did you come to Taiwan in the first place? And why did you pick Taiwan in the first place? Out of all the other Asian countries, why Taiwan?
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, story goes back a bit. So 2012, it's 2012 is when I arrived, right? And that's back that was about a year after I had graduated from university. I had taken a trip and I was kind of like finding myself, right? Trying to like see what I wanted to do with my life. The economy wasn't that great in America at that time, especially for like young people. You know what I mean? Like just the opportunities aren't there. The opportunities aren't what they were for the boomers, and they aren't what they were even for like the Gen Xers. It's just not what it was, right? It's like way harder to succeed these days.
Yeah,
doing the same thing.
This is backed up by data, by the way. But yes, go ahead.
Yes, it is. Thank you. That's true. If anyone wants to argue that, but I think it's obvious. But yeah. Anyway, look, things weren't that great. I wanted some adventure. I wanted to get out. I thought I could find better opportunities elsewhere, right? Like if it's not working out here, like I'll be a free agent. I'll go somewhere else, And so a friend of mine, his mom recommended him go to this course to get an ESL certificate, an English as a second language certificate, right? And mom said, like, your friend Steven is doing this, and his mom recommended that he do that. And so why don't you do it too, right? You can get that certificate, and then you can take that certificate and work abroad teaching English, right? Anywhere you want. Like, you got a whole world to choose from. And so I did that. We took the class together, and we had fun. It was a good class. Like, I learned a lot of things, right? I boosted my confidence a little bit, kind of like getting up and talking in front of people, because that's something like that's hard to do. I think we all know that. Like, public speaking is hard to do.
Yeah.
Even if you're in like a classroom setting where it's like you and maybe 10 kids, it's still a little bit hard to do. Like if it's your first time, like getting up in front of them, you're like, I got, 20 eyeballs on me right now.
Yeah.
It's a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I did that. And, then afterwards I started doing some research and I started putting together my CV, right? You got to write that. You got to make it look professional. I took some like professional photos in like a button-up shirt, because you got to put that on the CV, right? I made sure I had my, my passport in order, everything in order like that. And then I was doing research, and I think I narrowed it down to like maybe 3 or 4 options, like mainly based around Asia, because that's what I had been like exposed to on social media. Like I had been following a lot of YouTubers who were like world travelers or who were like expats. Can you name any
off the top of your head?
Specifically, a lot of them were based in China, right? Like, and one of them now is like, at the time he was not that big of a deal, but now he's a really big deal. Is Serpent ZA?
Oh yeah, the South African.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he I had been watching him and a few others for a long time, and they made it look like
it was a breeze.
They made it look a certain way. Like they put off this image, right, of like the expat life. Like they made it look cool. They made it look adventurous. They made it look fun. They made it look like, you could find yourself and find out who you are and grow up and be a man and make money and like all these attractive things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like I narrowed it down to a few countries in Asia, China included at that time, right? And so I think I went through and I was like, okay, Japan, I don't know about Japan. It sounds expensive. It seems difficult to get in there because of the visa stuff. And then Korea, same, like expensive, and it's difficult to get in there because of the visa stuff. The process takes a long time. And then so what do you have left? You have Taiwan and China, right? And then you got to weigh the two and think, well, okay, what kind of lifestyle do I want to lead, right? Do I want to be able to retain everything I do now, right? Like talk to my parents, visit these websites, speak openly, listen to the music I want to listen to the movies or watch the TV shows or like do whatever I want to do, like have the freedom I have now.
Right.
Or do I want to give that up and try to live this other kind of lifestyle where it's more restricted, but then there's also a lot of adventure involved and it seemed pretty cool at the time. Right. And so I thought about it and I'm like, I don't really want to live. Like I want to visit. I want to see it. I'm cool to do that, but I don't want to live in a country where everything is so controlled.
Right.
And everything is so authoritarian.
Right.
And you don't have the freedoms that you enjoy now. And you can't communicate with anybody because there's like this great firewall and they kind of like seal everything off and they don't have the internet. They have an intranet, right? And it's just this whole thing. So I chose Taiwan.
Okay.
Right. And I did a little bit of research, but I didn't do a ton of research. So I didn't want to do a ton of research. Like I wanted to go and be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to like know everything before I got there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So you get to Taiwan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
so arrive in Taiwan, and I've told this story on my channel. There's a whole video devoted to it. So anyway, get to Taiwan, and long story short, I ended up working at a cram school in central Taiwan. I did a year of that. I finished that up. I moved up here up north. Me and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we were together. We were living in a small little apartment on the very top floor of her father's building, right? Not great, but we were living there. That was our option at the time. That's what we did, right? My son was born, my older son, who's now 6. And then I started working at a new company up here, a big cram school, big chain school, which was different because the school I was working at in central Taiwan was like a small private school. They only had 2 branches, whereas this company has branches all over the island, right? So it's like a different situation. And then years pass. I move out of my father-in-law's building because we had a little falling out. Like I don't want to get too deep into it. We moved out here to New Taipei City. My second son is born, right? Time passes. And I had known for a while that I didn't want to be an English teacher anymore, right? I wasn't satisfied with it. I had grown very
tired of it.
Kind of cynical. Yeah, tired of it, cynical about it, right? For like a lot of reasons that we've talked about, over time, just back and forth, right? Like there's just the incentives are wrong. Like everybody has the wrong attitude. It's too focused on money. It's not focused on education, right? And it's just like people lie. They inflate grades. They pass kids on who have no business being passed on. X, Y, and Z. It just goes on and on. It's a long list. And I tried to get out of that. And then I hinted at that in one of our podcasts, I think. So anyway, me and my wife tried to start a small business,
right.
Like a small private business of our own, which now in hindsight, I realize was a big mistake, at least in that format. I'm not saying we couldn't have possibly found any other way to do it and any other way to be successful, but in the form that we chose to do it was never going to work, right? Like we were always going to fail. in our location trying to do that exact kind of a thing.
Right. Your business was a brick and mortar kind of convenience.
Yeah, it was retail, brick and mortar retail. It was like a mix between convenient. I'll say it's like a convenience store plus, right? Like we had the things of a convenience store, but we also had like a little bit of clothing. We had some like cell phone accessories, right? We had some like knickknacks. We had, a lot of different things. I won't get too deep into it, but we gave it a good shot. We worked our asses off. We paid a lot of money. We lost a lot of money. Like, 2020 was probably the worst year ever, right? For a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, like, we had a hell of a year, right? With the business, we lost all that money. We put our heart and soul into it. We worked our asses off. It all came out to nothing, right? A lot of other people lost their jobs all around the world. I know you had a rough time as well, right? Like we've all been struggling. We've all been suffering, right? Like 2020 was not a good year. It just was not a good year,
Yeah.
We had a hell of a time.
Right.
So anyway, just to push the story on, like let's move it on a little bit.
Yeah.
So right, so that ends, the shop closes. We move all the stuff to the apartment. And so we try to start selling things on the street. And selling things on the street surprisingly did really well for the first month.
What month was this?
And we thought, I don't even know at this point.
Okay,
I have
go ahead.
to check my books.
That's okay.
I actually kept really good detailed books about the money and everything. I was a good little accountant, which is a big deal for me because I'm not good at math. Right? We've talked about that before. We're both not good at math.
Yeah.
But anyway, we did really good the first month, which led me to believe that, we can make it. We have a chance, right? We can redeem ourselves.
Yeah.
And then the second month, it totally collapsed. And like everything just didn't work out. Like people no longer wanted to buy. We were selling like these little jelly cakes that, I don't know. Like I wish I had a photo on me.
Yeah.
Or I wish I had it here. But we were selling these jelly cakes called Lian O Gao. And so it's like gelatin. And then in the middle, there's like a filling with like, we had 4 different flavors. We had like red bean. We had lotus. We had brown sugar with that. We had green bean and we had taro. So we had 4 different flavors, right? And we were selling that. And so just the second month, it totally collapsed. Like nobody wanted to buy anymore. And the weather was really, really bad, right? It was raining constantly. So people aren't walking the streets. They're not at the park. They're not at the temple, right? They don't want to be out in the rain. And just didn't work out. Like we tried that for a few more months when we were just struggling. Like we just couldn't pay the bills. Everything was super tight. We were still working our asses off, right?
This is all during COVID too, right?
Yeah, this is all during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Which in Taiwan we've done, and I've done a video on it, and we've talked about it personally, and we've done really well. Like Taiwan has done really well containing it, but it's not like we still didn't have like some repercussions, Like there's still been some struggles. Like the tourist industry has been devastated.
Yeah.
Right. For those first opening months of the virus, which is when I was trying to get our shop up and running, people were afraid to come out. Right. Like a lot of people stayed in and they did Uber Eats, they did Food Panda. They tried to avoid coming out, right? A lot of the older people, especially the older people who like to frequent the market where our shop was located, they stayed away because they were scared, right? Because they're old and their health is not so good. And if they get that virus, they could die, right?
Do you think you might have succeeded if you didn't do it in 2020?
Man, brother, I don't know. Like it's one of those questions, right? Like we'll never know.
Yeah.
Because, we can't jump in a time machine and change it. But
I have a habit of thinking.
Man, I can't say. Like I would like to think we would have had a little bit more success. I don't think we would ever have blown up like I wanted to. But I like to think we would have had a little bit more success.
Yeah. Okay, so you moved. You closed the brick and mortar store. You moved it onto the street. Did really well on the first month. Not so much the second month. And
and then it collapsed. Right, like in the second month, we went a few more months. We tried. It was hard. We were working really hard physically, like pushing that cart up and down the street. It's a long street, right? Hauling all these things, like cutting the food, preparing the food, boxing it up, everything that you can think of, right? And it just didn't work out. So eventually we had a like a falling out that I think was inevitable, because things weren't working out anyway. But we had a falling out with our guy who was our supplier for the jelly cakes, right? The Lieno Gao. We had a big falling out with him because he sold us some like basically expired product. And we confronted him about that, and we're like, dude, what the hell? There's mold on this. You can't sell this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was black mold on it. There was like, I opened the box the next day after we got it, and it's usually fine. I opened the box, and there's black mold all over these cakes. Like, I can't sell these.
Are you supposed to refrigerate them, or how do you store them?
No, you can't. You have to leave them out in like a cool, dry place. It's got to be cool and dry, right? Cool and dry. Not cold, cool, right?
Okay.
Cool and dry. Like right now would be perfect if there was like no humidity.
Right. Oh, well, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is something we had done over and over again, and we had never had an issue. So this last time he sold us this box. I set it down, everything's fine, right? I always check the box. It's not like he swindled me and like he purposely handed me a thing full of black mold. Like I looked in the box and everything seemed to be fine. Now I should have known better, I guess, but you know, hindsight is always 20/20. But anyway, the next day we opened the box. This thing's like covered with black mold. So me and my wife confronted him and we said, dude, what the hell? What is this? Why is this covered in black mold? Right? This shouldn't be happening. We've done this a million times and this has never happened before, which means there's only one explanation. You gave us old product, right? Things that were about to expire and go off.
So this only happened once?
Because this only happened once because you didn't want to lose money, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, what? How dare you? Like, I didn't give you old stuff. I just made those fresh. And I'm like, dude, come on. What are you talking about? Like, we've done this a million times. We've done this transaction a million times. I hand you the cash in hand. You hand me the box of cakes. I check it out. I count the cakes. We count them together. Everything's good to go, right? And this time it's covered in black mold. Don't tell me there's no issue.
Yeah.
Don't tell me there's no issue. Like,
wait, did you
hundreds of dollars?
Did you show him?
And now all of it's gone down the drain. Don't tell me there's no issue.
When you opened the box, was he there for you to show him?
Well, when we opened it and it was covered in mold, I'm like, I was angry. So first I called my wife. I'm like, get over here. Like, this shit there's a problem. Like, we got a big problem, right?
And he was standing there.
Like, you got to call this guy. No, we were here in our apartment, right? I'm like, you got to call this guy. And she's like, what the hell is covered in black mold? And both of us are like, what the fuck? We just lost all this money because we just paid him like, you know, like hundreds of dollars for this. Like, we order in bulk, right? Because you got to do that when you're going to sell on the streets. You got to order in bulk. So we're like, wow, fuck. Like, we spent all this money and all this stuff is covered in mold. We can't even sell a single cake, right?
Wait, so you didn't open it when he was there?
Well, when he drops it off, we always open it and we look at it and we count it, right? To make sure everything's legit.
And this time
I'm talking about the next day. Talk about the next day after that.
Oh, so it was fine when you first opened it in front of him.
At the moment he handed it over and we did the transaction, it was okay. The next day, it was covered in black mold.
Right. And usually
big issue. But usually it's never like that, which is why we confronted him. Because if this was normal, then we say, oh, well, it's normal. That happens, right? They go bad after so long, right? But this has never happened before. So, which is why we felt like we were being taken, right? Like this guy was messing with us. He was scamming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my wife's like, all right, take a picture. I'm going to send it to him, right? So we took a picture. We sent it to him. And we confronted him. We said, what the fuck is this, right? Like, you sold us bad product. You sold us old product. And like I said, he's like, oh, how dare you? I made those fresh. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about, trying to say I did something bad. I never did anything bad to you guys at all. I was trying to help you. And so he's like, fuck you. I don't want to work with you anymore. And then we were like, man, fuck you. You started this shit. You sold us the bad product. Fuck you. We don't want to work with you either.
No.
And so it was basically like that, right? He's like, fuck you. And we're like, oh, fuck you too. And I never want to see you again. He's like, I never want to see you either. Don't even come around.
Was he describe him for me? Was he like a Taiwanese guy, obviously, but like how old?
Yeah, he's like I don't know. He's like an older millennial Taiwanese guy. right?
So
Who
a couple
grew up in
years
this area, right? He's a working class dude.
a couple
right?
years
He
older
lives a
than
little
you.
rough. Yeah, maybe a few.
Okay.
A few. Like I asked him how old he was, and he lied. He said we were the same age, but that's
You think he's older?
like I can just tell, but just by looking at him and by the way he carries himself, he's a little bit older. Which look, it's not a big deal. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. I don't care about your appearance. I don't care about where you come from or anything like that. Like if we can, if you're a good person and we can work together and make money for me and you, if we can have a mutually beneficial relationship,
Yeah, it doesn't
that's
matter.
fine.
Yeah.
There's no issue at all, right? Like as long as it's working out, then I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you come from, anything like that, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so we had the falling out, and I was devastated. Like I was so low. Like I was really, really low. And I had a lot of low points in 2020. Like some dark places, like sunk to some dark places. But I was really, really low. Like I felt defeated, like just really defeated.
Yeah.
Like I had failed, personally. Like I let everybody down, and I was like judging myself really harshly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm my own worst critic.
Yeah.
I think you probably feel the same way, right? A lot of times, frequently, right? Yeah. Like you're your own worst critic. You're your own worst enemy sometimes. But, you can't give up. You got to keep going, right? You got to just carry on. So another YouTube thing, another weird way YouTube has influenced my life is like I kind of just started watching some videos, right? I started watching some military videos about people training, right? About people wanting to change their lives. And I started getting, inspired unexpectedly because I don't like click on videos like with a plan. Like I'm going to watch this and then I'm going to go out and do amazing things. Like I don't do that. Like I don't think anybody does that, right? Like it just kind of comes to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like inspiration hits you. You don't plan on it. You're like, I'm going to be inspired today.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not going to be inspired today. Like it just hits you, right? Like you watch something, you
don't plan it.
You read something. Yeah, you don't plan it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm watching these military videos and I get inspired. I'm like, look at these people. Like they don't have direction, or they feel a little bit lost, or they made a mistake and they need a second chance, right? They need redemption, right? For themselves, right? And they're doing this and they're going there and the training is hard, but they're getting through it. And then they're seeing all these benefits, right? They have a house, they have a car now, they have like low interest loans, they have a good wage, they're putting money away, they're investing in the stock market. Like it's going really well for these people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I get inspired and I start doing research and I'm looking through the branches and I'm thinking about what I want for my life and my own personality. And I'm like, okay, I'm not Rambo, right? I'm not an action hero. I'm not Stallone, right? Like I'm not going to like run into a building and take out 5 guys on my own. And then I'm going to pick up a bazooka and like, boom, right? I'm not that guy. Right. So I never even thought about Marines.
You weren't thinking about invading Russia with your,
No, I wasn't gonna.
Have you been watching MSNBC? Did you know that Russia is just awful every day?
Yeah, they're our worst enemy, and they've hacked our elections. And Rachel Maddow says that Russia's like our worst enemy, and Vladimir Putin controls Donald Trump as a puppet.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
all of that. Yeah, exactly.
Don't you want to be a patriot and go after the Russians? Are you un-American?
Russians are so bad. They're evil people. You have to confront them. You have to kill them. We have to be in perpetual Cold War, right? Yeah. The 20th century never ended, Daniel. Don't you understand?
Okay, so you watch all these inspirational.
So anyway, I got inspired and then I started doing research. I started going through the branches, right? So Marines, that's not me. That's not my lifestyle. The lifestyle that I want to lead. I'm too old for it anyway. There's an age cutoff. Army, same thing. I don't want to be on the ground like as a infantryman carrying my rifle trying to be a hero, right? That's off the table as well. Air Force seems too technical. Like I don't really feel like I want to do that. That doesn't seem like my cup of tea. Nothing against them personally, right? But that just doesn't seem like my cup of tea. National Guard, I'm not really interested in that. The Coast Guard, I'm not really interested in that. And so that leaves Navy, right? And there's actually like a tradition of that in my family to a point. So like in World War One, on my dad's side, my great grandfather served in the army in World War One, and then his father served as a pilot, as a P-38 pilot in World War Two.
Wait, your
over
great grandfather's father or your father's father?
So my dad's side, right?
Right.
So my grandfather, World War II fighter pilot, right?
Okay.
P-38.
And his dad,
grandfather,
right?
Army infantry, right? World War One, trenches,
Okay.
all that stuff.
Right.
My mom's side, my grandfather was in the Merchant Marine, which at that time was activated for World War II, right? The United States can activate Merchant Marines for war, right? To utilize that to move resources. And so my grandfather had all these stories and all these memories of World War II, right? Of moving supplies from the East Coast of the United States to Europe to fight Nazi Germany and Italy, right? And he had all these stories about, going across the ocean, and planes would come down and attack them, and they would be attacked by submarines, and ships in their convoy would be exploded. And he watched, he saw horrible things. He saw people burned to death. He saw ships go down with men still on them. He lost some of his friends, right? Like all these things. But it's still inspirational to me, right? Like, here's this guy. He had all these like adventures on the sea. He went to many different places. There's pictures of him riding camels in front of the pyramids in Egypt, right? Like he had all these crazy adventures, right? Even though he was in great danger, he did all these amazing things. He served his country, right? In the most probably the worst event the world has ever witnessed, right? I think that's fair to say. World War II is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to the world, right? I think we can all agree.
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't get much worse than that.
Second would be the China under Mao, right? The what do you call that?
Yeah.
Cultural Revolution, One Leap Forward.
I think just like the brutality and the scale, right?
Yeah.
Put World War II as probably the worst, right? Not saying like, I'm not trying to downplay Mao, like he's horrible in his own right. Like, credit to him.
Yeah, credit to him. Yeah.
Credit to him for being the worst person ever.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just saying, like, if we look at the scale and how widespread everything was, and just the brutality and the hatred, that World War II was probably the worst. So anyway, inspirational to me. And I think, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can be a man of the sea, right? Like I can have all these adventures. I can go all around the world. So Navy, right? I could fit into the Navy. I could do that. I look up videos of Navy training. It looks hard, but not impossible. It looks like something I can do. I'm not too old. I think the cutoff's like 34, 35, right?
You're 31? You're 31.
I was 30 when I was watching them videos. Now I'm 31.
Yeah.
So I'm not that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old.
Yeah.
I have a little white hair on the side.
No, you're good.
It's okay.
30's the new
30.
30.
I'm gonna cover the white hairs.
30's the new 20, so you're good.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I get self-conscious. The kids in my class sometimes are like, "Teacher, you have white hairs," and I'm like, "Okay, you failed."
Yeah.
That's it. You failed your quiz, you little shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I decide that. So I think I told you at the time. I think I told you before anybody, actually. Which I don't know. I think it's just easier to talk to friends sometimes. But I think I told you. I think I sent you like some messages where I said like, "This might surprise you, Dan, but I think I want to join the military." And you're like, "What?"
No, yeah. I think
you
I
even
remember.
sent me like a text message that said like, "What?"
Yeah, I might have done that. Yeah,
something like that. But then, so yeah, that started it. And then next thing you know, I'm like, well, what do we got to do? We got to sell everything, right? I got to get my wife a green card. We got to immigrate the kids and everybody. And here we are. Yeah. That's why I'm leaving.
That begins the process.
Long story. We've probably gone on for like an hour now, but that's a long story of where I started, where I was in the middle, and where I am here at the end. And I'm getting ready to leave. I'm trying to leave.
Yeah. So, I mean, So you went through the timeline of what how you began in Taiwan teaching English, and then at the sort of last few months or years of your stay in Taiwan, you started a business during a pandemic. So pat
I
on the
didn't plan
back.
on that, but it just
Yeah,
happened, and 2020 is just like
yeah. But one, you one could, or somebody in your position, after going through what you're sort of doing, teaching English, starting a business, even though it didn't go the way that you planned, one might still want to stay in Taiwan. Why? So
yeah, sure. I mean, some people want to stick it out, and some people would stick it out, and I don't blame them for that. I don't blame anybody who's here teaching English and enjoying it and enjoying life. But
or maybe not even looking at teaching English, but we talked about
I
this
mean,
before about how, like, for a foreigner coming to Taiwan, and obviously, yeah, we're talking, I guess, to a foreigner, his experiences in Taiwan. So, I'm not necessarily talking about people like me, even though I would still kind of be considered a foreigner. I was born and raised in Canada. But
yeah,
I
legally you'd be a foreigner. Socially, just
less.
appearance wise, no. But once they started talking to you, they would probably call you like an ABC or a CBC or something like that,
And also, my
right?
my parents are Taiwanese, so I might actually be able to get a
Yeah, I
Taiwanese
don't
pass.
know if
I
yeah, did we talk about that? Are you eligible for
I think
ROC
I
nationality?
I think I might be. I never really got a definitive answer, but I think I might be, actually. I've heard my
Hmm.
parents might have mentioned it. I'm not 100% sure, but obviously your experiences would be different from mine. And
Yeah,
so
well,
we
I
talk.
mean, everyone's experiences are different, right?
Right, right. I'm just saying, given these basic sort of categories.
Yeah, right. Legally, socially, and such.
Um, so we were talking before about how, as a foreigner, um, other than teaching English in Taiwan, there's not too many other options, right? I think you might.
Right. So, I mean, that's the problem. So, like you said, some people might want to stay, and that's true. And like I said, there's no problem with that. But like, you got to look at yourself. You got to look inward, right? And you got to decide what you want for yourself and what you want for your future to be, right? And that's what I did. And I'm only getting older, right?
Yeah.
And the older you know this, the older you get, the harder it is to to try again. The harder it is to start over and try something new and learn something new, right? And be successful, right? It's better to do these things when you're young. It's better to try different things when you're young and start a career when you're young as opposed to doing it later on in life. It's a lot more difficult. It's not impossible. I actually have a friend here who has his own small private business and is doing extremely, extremely well, especially this past year.
What kind
He's
of
had
business?
extreme success. He does import and distribution of a small amount of food products, but mostly it's focused on alcohol. So beer, alcoholic cider, and then liqueur, and maybe even a little bit of wine here or there. I'm not sure.
Imported from where?
Many different places. One of the main places, though, because there's like a kind of a free trade agreement, is New Zealand.
Oh, okay. So free
So
trade.
yeah,
Yeah.
New Zealand is actually it may be one of the few, or may even be the only one that has this kind of like economic agreement with Taiwan.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have
And we can.
so you have beer, like New Zealand beer, Kiwi beer.
Yeah.
Oh
Hmm.
wow,
Yeah,
interesting.
quite a bit. So yeah. By the way, if people want to look at my Instagram, you'll find that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
My Instagram, there's a lot of beer on my Instagram.
yeah.
I quite enjoy a beer from time to time.
I'm
I'm not
just
an alcoholic.
yeah, no. um, is there New Zealand liquor?
Like a special one unique to only New Zealand?
Yeah,
I
I
I
don't
don't
know
I
any.
don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to say no because there could be.
Yeah.
But I do know they make a lot of really good beer and they make a lot of really good cider and
Okay.
they make a lot of really good wine, like grape wine.
Okay.
Like really, really good.
So your friend's business is doing well.
Yeah, so that to my point, like you can do it. You can make
Yeah.
it in a not English teaching career.
Hmm.
But that's extremely difficult. Like if you know this guy's story, which I'm not going to get into because it's his own private story and I don't think he wants it shared, but he struggled and it took a long time for
Hmm.
him to to do what he wanted to do
Right.
and get to this point in his life where he's happy and successful. It's almost impossible to break out of this, right? Like as a foreigner, you're pigeonholed, right? And I don't want to like try to,
Dissuade
cry and
anyone.
say woe
Yeah.
is me and say like that it's only affecting me, because it's not. It affects everybody. It even affects, like, if you're a Taiwanese going to a Western country, it affects them too. They get pigeonholed too, right?
Yeah.
Like where do they end up going? They end up in
Chinese
food service,
Chinese
right?
restaurants. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. They end up in food service. They don't have as many options as they would like to have. They get pigeonholed too.
Yeah, you
It's not
can't.
fair to them either,
It's
right?
not. Yeah, it's not common for Taiwanese immigrants to come to Canada and, oh, I'm gonna teach Mandarin to some white people. It's not
Right.
really. It's not really an
So
industry here.
to my point, it's hard to immigrate and it's hard to be an immigrant. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy for me, and I'm not saying it's easy for Taiwanese either. It's difficult for everybody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's difficult for everybody to break out and not be pigeonholed,
Yeah.
right? But as a Western foreigner here, you basically are going to teach English or get the hell out,
Mm.
right? Like that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
The number of people who have been successful and gotten out of that are very few. I can count them on my finger. I
Yeah.
can count them on one hand that
Right.
I know
Right.
who have broken out and been successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
And I don't
other.
want to
Yeah.
teach English anymore. Like when I looked inward, when I tried to like do that self exploration, when I was feeling really low and feeling really down, right? Those times when you kind of look inward and you kind of meditate, so to speak, I'm like, I don't want to grow old and still do this.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I don't
not.
like this,
It's.
right?
It's.
Like it doesn't make me feel good. I'm not passionate about it. I feel empty, right? I feel useless. I feel like I'm being used,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't want to grow old doing this. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
I don't want to feel like that when I'm 40. I don't want to feel like that when I'm 50. Like
Right.
that's not a good it's not a good way to feel that way.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um. So other than the economic, and obviously, your job is not just about money, as we just talked about. It's also about like how you
It's about your
feel.
lifestyle. It's about how you feel. It's about how you want to be perceived. There's a lot goes into that, and it's not what I want. It's not making me feel good. It's not making me feel like I'm living my life the way I should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So other than work, obviously, money and how it makes you feel. Are there any other things about Taiwan that completely outside of work that either makes you consider staying, or on the opposite hand,
Oh my
al-
God.
also
So many things.
also makes you want
So
to leave?
yeah, so many things. So many things. Like there's so many upsides here, and I don't want to sound ungrateful because I'm
Yeah.
not. Like
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Taiwan has given me so much, right?
Like
Like
what?
friendship,
Yeah.
friendship, really good friendships, to which I count you as one,
Yeah.
right? Like a family. I have a wife who's like has my back no matter what. Like she's always gonna be there. She's never gonna run out. I got two kids, two boys who are smart and happy and playful, and they're learning and growing up, and I'm getting to watch that. That's a privilege, and I'm happy to have that. And I have a house, I have a roof over my head, I have food to eat, right? I have health care.
Right.
I have affordable health care.
To an
Like that's just
American, that's like finding
to an
crypt.
American, that's unbelievable. Like to a Canadian, that's not a big deal, but you have to understand, to an American, that's unbelievable,
Yeah.
right? Like everything we've been through, and this. My wife broke both of her legs, and she was in
Mm,
casts.
right.
That was, I mean, imagine going through that in America with no insurance.
Yeah.
Imagine the hardship that would be, right?
Honestly, like, it's hard for me to imagine because I've never had to,
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you almost can't fathom like how
as a
difficult that would
Canadian.
be,
Yeah.
right? The loss that would be, like how bankrupt you would be, how you would probably have no home, how you would probably have no money like you would have nothing, like you would be devastated, right? You probably couldn't even work because at that time when she broke both of her legs, she was bedridden,
Right.
right? Like she had a wheelchair, but she still needed help going to the bathroom. She needed help getting her food. She needed help everything, like getting dressed in the morning, like everything.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we could have survived in America doing that.
Right.
So I'm extremely grateful. Like Taiwan has given me amazing things, right? Like friendship, family, right? Like the essentials for life. I've had amazing adventures. I've seen beautiful things. I've talked to a lot of people and had like a lot of interesting conversations. I've seen a lot of interesting movies. I've read a lot of interesting books, right? It's been amazing. It's 8 years of life that's been full of amazing things, right? Like hardship and struggle, but also at the same time, like amazing things. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm going to miss it a lot. You have no idea. I'm probably going to cry at the airport.
Oh.
I'm probably gonna do one of those like silent cries where it's just like the tears are falling, all right, but there's no sound.
Yeah.
It's hard, dude. I didn't make this decision lightly. You know what I mean? Like when I texted you, I wanted to join the military. That took time to come to that conclusion.
Yeah,
I didn't decide that in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, believe me,
Yeah.
really believe me.
It wasn't on a whim. Yeah.
No, not at all, not at all. And there's some things that I'm scared about leaving. I'm concerned for my boys that they're gonna lose their language ability, right?
Specifically just the Mandarin, right?
I think they're gonna retain the spoken language to a good level just because their mother, right?
No.
And they'll be able to Skype and they'll still be able to like watch like, cartoons on YouTube in Mandarin. Right. But what I'm really concerned about is that their reading and writing is going to just be
for Chinese.
Yeah, it's not going to be where it should be because the exposure is not going to be what it is here. It couldn't possibly be. It's impossible, right?
Born and raised in Canada, learned all my Chinese in Canada.
It's not. I'm not saying that they couldn't possibly have a good outcome.
I'm just.
Right? You're a good example of that, and I give you a lot of credit.
I'm not.
You're a very smart man.
I'm not saying that to pat my back. Well, maybe just this tiny bit, but just to show. Yeah, just one finger, just to show you that it's possible.
It can happen. It can happen. My dad's tried to explain this to me. He's like, look, don't spaz out. Like, you'll find a way.
I appreciate that you actually care. Like somebody.
I care about that tremendously.
Because somebody could be like, oh, whatever, like Chinese, yeah, they're gonna learn English. It's gonna be fine.
No, that's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, being perfectly bilingual is a gift.
Yeah, it is.
I don't look down on that at all. That's a gift. I'm jealous. Yeah. If anything, I'm jealous. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's knowledge that I don't have, that I wish I had. I'm not like one of those like, foolish, ignorant people who's like, I don't need anything else. I have English. English is the world's language, right? Yeah. I'm superior. No, dude, you're not. You're choosing not to, expand your mind. You're choosing not to learn and be better, right? That's foolishness. Yeah. So anyway, I'm worried about that. And then my wife said something to me, like kind of offhand and a little bit quietly, but I could tell she was concerned. She's like, when we leave, I don't want like this to stop. She's like, she didn't have like the words to explain it. She's like, I don't want to stop being like this. Like, I don't want to stop being Taiwanese. Like, I don't want to lose that. And what she was trying to say is like, she doesn't want to lose her heritage. She doesn't want to lose her culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
she was scared about it. Like, I could tell, like, she was scared about it. She was worried about it and made her sad. And I was like, look, listen, we're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's the language stuff or anything else, we're going to find a way. And we're going to make it work. Like, so if it's Lunar New Year, we're going to do it. Like, I will, in America, I will go out and I will paste a big red couplet on my door. And I will.
On the outside?
I will, yeah, on the outside. Yeah, on the outside. I'll do it proudly. And we will do everything. We will do the fireworks and we will have the hongbao and everything. I told her, I was like, we're not going to stop. Like, you're not just going to stop being Taiwanese because you set foot on U.S. soil. Yeah. Like, you're not going to lose it. Like, and I'm going to make sure we're not going to lose it. We're going to do everything, right?
Yeah, tell her. Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to talk to her sometime. Like, I grew up like most, like 99. How old am I? I'm almost 26. All like 26 years, like most of the food that has gone inside my mouth is Taiwanese. Okay, even though born and raised here, I can't remember the last time I've had maple syrup, you know, or poutine. You know, like
Oh
I,
my God.
you know,
Okay, well, I mean,
so
side note, if I come to BC, we're eating poutine together. So,
yeah. Although, yeah,
because
sure.
I love poutine.
Oh,
Poutine is my
oh,
thing.
I love it too. I just don't frequent it.
We also have to go to Tim Hortons because I've never been to Tim Hortons before.
Well, it's bought out by an American now, so it's no longer Canadian. But
Are
you
you
know,
serious?
yeah, like it was years ago. But you know, we
Oh,
still
that's
kind
sad.
of
Okay.
we still kind of consider it Canadian. But you know,
Okay, well, thanks for making me a little bit sad, but okay.
but yeah, no, like just make sure that she finds a community of like Taiwanese people, which you know,
Yeah,
there's
I'm gonna try. I mean, there's also there's trouble in that too, because I don't want her, and I kind of have experience in this realm, but I don't want her to encounter like hostile reactions because she says something as innocuous and as innocent as I come from Taiwan, I am Taiwanese. You know what I mean?
do you mean like white Americans being
Do you know what I'm getting
racist?
at? Well, no, not that.
Or I don't.
It like you said, like make sure she tries to find a community. I'm kind of afraid that like she's gonna see some people and think, oh, that might be the community, and she tries to reach out and she runs into some, some
Mainland.
knucklehead. Yeah, some knucklehead, some stupid nationalist knucklehead who's like, we're not friends, you're the enemy, right? Like, you're a traitor, blah blah blah, this and that and the other thing.
You're specifically talking about mainland Chinese, right?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm
So
talking about. The kind of people who
yeah.
would be knuckleheaded and who would go to a stranger and confront them and say something stupid like that. When in reality, like she's just reaching out. She's looking for friendship, right? Like in a strange land. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I
I'm
would.
worried about that. I'm worried about hostile reactions. I'm worried about kids confronting my kids with
Hmm.
that kind of stuff too. Like, you're not Taiwanese, you're Chinese. My father said so. And then what are my
Hmm.
kids supposed to do, right? What are they supposed to say? Are they supposed to fight? Are they supposed to argue? What are they supposed to do about that?
You know, I would try to, as the word, quell your concerns. Because even there's I don't want to say crap ton, but yeah, there's a crap ton of like mainland Chinese people here, as there are like immigrants from other countries as well, and Taiwanese people do get along with mainland Chinese people here because it's kind of the sense
Sure,
of
I know it's possible. I had
yeah,
a mainland roommate in my university days, and we're still friends to this day.
yeah,
Now, look, we have massive disagreements about
yeah,
a lot of things,
yeah.
but we're still friends to this day. But it's just, I've had these arguments, and I've had him storm off, and I've stormed off, and I don't want. I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
worry about that. I worry about my kids. I worry about my wife, right? Like getting into these arguments and maybe having people confront them, and maybe having some people even get in such a bad mood that they try to get physical. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I have personally, I'm just thinking about high school now because elementary school is one thing. High school might be a little slightly different because especially teenage guys, they start to think that, oh, I have a mind of my own, and
Yeah, it's a
etc.
lot more dangerous in high school.
Yeah, but with your wife, I don't think that's too much to worry about because as adults, even mainland Chinese people, they'll see it as we're both immigrants coming from an Asian country. It's not easy. Let's be kind.
Yeah,
I do feel like
which is
that.
that's my hope. My hope is that no matter where people come from, and no matter who she runs into, that there is this attitude of kindness. That it is this attitude of like, look, it's hard enough
Yeah,
as it is. Let's not fight between each other. Let's stick together. Let's be nice to each other.
I don't know if you ever watched Naruto, but there's this villain who goes by the name of Pain, and his whole thing is because he
Good name
started.
for a villain.
Well, yeah, he started out as actually wanting to be a hero growing up and wanting to like make peace throughout the world, but he went through this great pain. Well, okay, I'll try to explain it, unpack it in just a tiny bit. He lived in a tiny village that was right in the middle of two superpowers, so to speak, and their wars would often, or their village would often face, what's that term? Unintended consequences of war between the two superpowers.
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage, exactly.
Yeah.
And through that pain, eventually he sort of went through like a psychotic break, and he went from wanting to be a hero to his idea of a villain, even though nobody thinks of themselves as the villain, as that, as we all that's a very common phrase that we hear. His becoming a villain is, I'm gonna deliver so much great pain to these two superpowers so they understand, to unite.
I'm gonna hurt them the way they hurt me.
Well, it's not actually necessary. Well, even though there's obviously like a fraction about it being about revenge, but his whole sort of justification is, I'm gonna bring pain so that we all understand each other. His thinking is, afterwards, I'm actually gonna bring real peace, but after I deliver this pain. Then the reason why I brought that up is, like, as though I think that even though they're mainland Chinese, the pain and the obstacles you face as an immigrant will sort of come first and be like, see, it's so hard, let's just be kind. But that's not to say that there will be the assholes that'd be like, I don't care, I'm Chinese, you're Taiwanese.
They exist. They're out there.
They're out there.
They are.
They are.
I mean, it's not like you never had a run-in, right? Like,
yeah.
Even if it's just online, it's not like we've never had a run-in.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll be there, even though like from far away. I'll be here in Canada. Like, if you ever want to talk about that, like, I can. Well,
I'm hoping to make it to Canada physically. So.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and we talked about you.
We talked about.
Yeah.
We talked about it. I wanted to, like, when me and Dan, just to go back a little bit, when me and Dan were talking months ago now, I was like, you know what? If there's a possibility that Canada has like a kind of program where they like let foreigners join their military and serve in exchange for citizenship, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it right now.
That'd be great. That'd be great. And
I was going to do it, and then you did the research, you sent me some reading, and I did the reading, and it's not possible, but unfortunately.
Kind of makes me want to double check now that you brought that up, but yeah.
Got to be a citizen. Can't do otherwise. And then, just to be a citizen, I think the process is 5 years, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it's 5 years. And I'm only getting older, so.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about the good things outside of work that might make you want to stay. Let's talk about some of the not so good things that you don't like in Taiwan outside of work.
Outside of work, yeah.
That made you go, okay, you know what? I'm ready to leave. This is me, a Taiwanese person, patriotic Taiwanese person, ready to hear all the criticisms.
Yeah. No, well, actually, we've probably already talked about most of it, but I mean, I think I have to say, if work wasn't an issue, I wouldn't leave, right?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think I would have. I don't think anything else would have driven me to leave if I didn't have such a bad work situation. But I mean, that's not like, I'm not saying that there aren't things that bother me, that extremely bother me. There are, like driving, right?
I was just thinking that, yeah.
The crazy driving, right? The fact that it's like it's more dangerous to try to cross the street than it is to send your wife out at 2 a.m. to go buy something at the shops. Like, that's we've talked about it so many times. Taiwanese drivers are, not all of them, of course, but generally awful.
Yeah,
right?
They also have different rules than like.
Well, yeah, like the rule that there are no rules. Those are just guidelines.
Well, okay, there's that, but also
those are just guidelines. They're suggestions. You don't have to follow that.
Well, okay, so one example that my dad told me about was, okay, so you're on a street, different opposite directions, and let's say you want to turn left, but there's an incoming traffic, right? I'm pretty sure the States is the same as Canada. If you want to turn left, they have the right of way. The incoming traffic has the right of way. You have to wait until it's absolutely safe before you turn. And if there's an accident,
Right. wait until the way is clear, then you may turn, right?
And then if there's an accident, it's most likely going to be your fault because they have the right of way. It's your responsibility to make sure it's safe before you turn. Whereas in Taiwan, it's kind of like you one car comes, you can just go. If you see that there's a space, you can just squeeze in, sort of thing.
That's that what you just said right there is the main prevailing ideology.
Right. If
you see a little space you can squeeze into, take it.
But it's not only that, right? If you get in an accident, I guess there is the possibility that the incoming traffic might be deemed at fault. Right? It's not.
It depends. I mean, so when your dad was here, this probably didn't exist, but nowadays, basically everywhere there are cameras, right?
Yeah.
There are cameras on the streetlights and on everything. So the police, if they want to, if they decide to do their job properly, can take that footage and dissect what happened, right? And determine that themselves.
Right. I'm just saying, like in the West, because of this rule that, the incoming traffic has the right of way, it's most likely going to be the person that's turning that's going to be at fault, and that's kind of a way of incentivizing or like
you not to do that,
not to make a reckless turn. But I don't think in Taiwan they have that rule, so that it's more it's
more of a gray area. I think
you're more likely to.
A lot of times when there's an incident, either one party will pay off the other party and drop it right there, right? Or they'll both agree to go their separate ways and just pay for the damages themselves because they don't want to have problems with insurance and they don't want to deal with police, right? So most of the time people just settle it without law enforcement, right? And without going to court or anything like that. So
okay, yeah. So other than driving, anything else?
Yeah, so there's that, right? There's the climate, right? You got to understand, for most of the year here, it's like blazingly hot. And to top it all off, there's like, I don't know, 90% humidity. So it feels like you're in a steam room all the time. And our electric bills in summer are insane, like no matter what, right? Because you're constantly running the air conditioner and yeah, so that's like a major kind of thing where it's like that. Because from like May until late September, you like don't really want to go outside because it's so miserable.
Okay, so those are the months. I was gonna ask what months I should avoid.
It's probably the opposite because like in Canada, I imagine you guys have like months of time where like I don't want to go outside; it's too damn cold. But here it's like I don't want to go outside because it's too damn hot, right?
Is the AC good enough inside to stay home?
Yeah, you do the aircon. Like we don't have a giant unit, but it's good enough. We do the aircon. We do some radial fans, the ones that do that,
Is that what they're called? Radio fans? The ones that
radial, like meaning moving.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm not an engineer. What do I know?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, weather. Okay. Yeah,
weather is another one. Education for my kids, I worry about. Right, just because
the workload.
Yeah, like even
the culture.
Though there's issues with like the grades and how people are like tested and such. The workload after you leave like elementary school, like the workload just explodes and the pressure gets insane, right? It's just too much, and a lot of kids end up breaking. Yeah. And unfortunately, even some kids end up committing suicide. So,
yeah. Okay.
I mean, we've had like teenagers go like to the top of buildings and like throw themselves off the roof. Like, come on.
Have you?
I can't have that. That's just too much. You know what I mean?
Has that happened in your 8 years of being there?
Like to me and my friends personally?
No. I mean, like just to hear about it.
Oh yeah, no. Like, I mean, I don't want to sound excited about it, but yeah, it's happened like probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 times. In
the 8 years that you've been there?
Yeah. Okay.
Once a year.
You probably get one about once a year where you find out like there's a, I don't know, 13-year-old girl or a 16-year-old boy who just found that it was too much. There was no way, like can't cope. So goes to the top of the building, whether it's their own apartment building or whether it's one of the school buildings, and just throws himself off the roof.
Yeah.
So
I feel like, I don't know.
It's a dark subject, like suicide.
Yeah,
is,
no,
you know.
no. I made a video on suicide, so don't worry about it. But yeah, I feel like Chinese education, as opposed to like sort of Western education, Chinese education, they like to like cram a bunch of information into your brain, right?
Right. And it's a different
Whereas,
kind of teaching style. It's like a rote memorization, right?
yeah, it's like really
So
just
like
stuffing.
you're not really engaging with the content. It's just like here's a list, memorize it.
Yeah,
Because later we're gonna test you. And if you fail, then you're not gonna, you know,
it's kind of treating the students like robots in a way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Whereas,
It's unfortunate because like in the West, it's more interactive, right? You engage with the content, right?
yeah,
Like they tell you like this happened. How does that make you feel? Why do you think that's important,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How do you relate to that, right?
Yeah, you don't really get that much yeah, I can't imagine hearing that too much of that in Taiwan.
Yeah, well,
Well,
that's why a lot of kids here don't like history as a subject, right? It's
mm,
boring. It's a list of things they have to memorize. They don't engage with that content, even
yeah,
though it's the story about them, right?
yeah,
It's the amazing true story of you, but you're not interested because it's presented in a way that's not engaging, right? You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
So they move more towards these like they move towards the subjects that fit with that kind of education. So math, right?
yeah.
They excel at math because math is like that, right? It's like memorize the formula, take the information, put it in the formula, solve, get the solution, right?
Math doesn't care about your feelings.
No, no, there are no feelings in math. There's no point of view. It's just correct or incorrect, right?
That was a reference to, you know, facts don't care about your feelings. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you, Ben.
yeah.
Or
Anyways,
is that, or has Steven said that too? I'm not sure.
but yeah, you know. Anyway, we're not gonna get down that rabbit hole. But
No,
yes,
let's not. Let's not.
um,
We'll steer clear.
so okay, you're
Anyway,
thinking about your
education. I
kids.
worry about it. So,
Okay, yeah, but your oldest son is 6, right?
yes.
Yeah. So does he have homework?
No. He
Okay.
has work he needs to do. He has things he needs to complete, but not homework. Like everything is done in school.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, I mean, we have to sign off on it. Like there's a contact book or communication book, if you want to call it that, where like they tell you what happened that day. They take the kid's temperature. That stuff. You sign it off, right?
Wait, do they take your
And
kids' temperature even when there isn't a pandemic?
yeah, in kindergarten like that, they always do that.
Interesting. Just to
They will always do
just
that.
to as a precaution.
Yeah, just to like take extra special care of health. They'll always do that.
That's cool.
So,
Yeah.
and then he also brings home. He has 3 workbooks, so he's working through BPMFA, and he's working through math, right? Like I think they've even started like basic equations, like addition and subtraction, right?
Yeah.
And then he has like I think he has. Sorry, I think he has one other book. I think it's like on a lifestyle kind of a thing,
Oh,
where it's like just things that like a child would need to know, like wash your hands,
yeah.
there's germs, right?
Civics.
Brush your teeth, yeah, like that kind of thing. Be polite, say please, say thank you, say you're welcome, all these things, like that kind of a thing. And we have to sign off on that. So you get to see week by week what they're learning, you know.
Yeah, I was just kind of assume that it's better for a kid to be under the Asian education system and then go to like the Western style versus
It could be you've told me good things. So,
good things about. What do you mean?
well, you said you said that you had friends or
Yeah,
acquaintances that had
because
been
it's
raised to a point
yeah,
and then they immigrated and they excelled just because
it's
it
just so much
was
easier in a
yeah,
way.
it was just too easy, like compared like the workload comparison and
Yeah,
just the pressure and all that stuff.
yeah. Like imagine being an American or Canadian student being used to, not to say that it's all butterflies and rainbows or whatever, but
Yeah,
imagine a white student going to Asia and they're like, what
they
is
do it.
this?
They
Yeah.
do it. Sometimes they do it. Actually, I met one girl through YouTube who started watching my channel because she was a white girl from Canada and she wanted to go be an exchange student in Taiwan. She did it.
Wow.
She did it.
How old was this?
She wanted.
What grade?
She was like 16 or something. So she started watching my channel just to get like basic info and just to ask me questions, right? And she asked some childish ones because she's a child, but she also asked me some really good ones, right? Like some really like insightful things, like about like lifestyle and just about people's attitudes and philosophies and stuff.
Yeah. And so she's in Taiwan right now?
I don't know. I mean, that was a year or two ago. That term is probably ended. Remember, she's a foreign exchange student, so it begins and it ends. Right.
Okay. I thought you
But
meant.
she's not the only one. I mean,
Yeah.
there's kids who came here from Germany. There's kids who came here from, a lot of places, probably America included. And they do it. The numbers microscopic, but they do it.
Right. Yeah, I was just because for a second I was thinking like them moving to Taiwan sort of like for a long-term permanent sort of thing, but
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe some of them who really enjoyed it come back later, right?
yeah.
But I don't think anyone has ever done like exchange student as a high school student and then they graduated and then they did, university here and then they graduated and then they found a job and then they just never left, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's not.
I don't think it's quite that extensive.
Okay, so yeah, you're I wait. Yeah, so okay, you okay, sorry, I'm just mumbling now. You were concerned with your kids continuing in the Taiwanese education. So you do feel better about them being in the American educational
In
system?
some ways, yeah. I mean, the pressure will be less, like the style will be more engaging, right? They'll be able to, I think they're going to be able to get more like critical thinking skills, right? More analytical, like they'll be able to engage more.
Sorry,
They'll be more outspoken.
1 second. My dad, 1 second. Sorry. I wasn't sure if he.
Okay?
Yeah, no, everything's cool. I wasn't sure if he was gonna give me like a noise complaint because I'm wearing headphones. I don't know how loudly I'm talking, but no, his computer isn't working and he wants to watch a
Oh, he
movie.
just needs help.
Yeah,
Okay.
but and you can tell he's been drinking, so I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
Hey, I don't know.
but
Is it Galeon? Maybe it's Galeon.
no, he usually drinks like whiskey or whatever. But
Really? Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll have
So
to edit that out.
no, it's cool. It's cool. So you do feel better about your kid entering the American
Yeah,
education system?
yeah, I do. I do. Overall, I'm not saying the American education system is perfect. It's not. We raise a lot of dummies, right?
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be able to like be more free thinkers, They'll be more outspoken, they'll be more confident, they'll be more creative. I think that.
Yeah. Is there so is there anything else that that sort of your
Besides,
not necessarily bad things, just like what were the other things that were going through your head about like that made you sort of like balance the scales, like pros of staying, cons of staying,
hmm,
pros of leaving, con of
I don't know. I
leaving?
think, well, my parents are getting older, right?
Right.
They're not ancient, but
Right.
they're getting older, right? They're young boomers. I think that's correct. They're young boomers.
Right.
Anyway, they're getting older. Look, they want to see their grandkids too, right? It's hard for them to get over here, right? It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money to get over here. So, I want my kids to be able to spend time with them, have a relationship with them too, right? My kids have a really good relationship with their grandparents here,
Hmm.
and I kind of want them to build that with my parents too,
Right.
and I want to be around my parents as they get older, right? Just for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Specifically like to Taiwan though, like pros and cons of staying and leaving?
I feel like I covered it. I mean, I don't have too much to I don't have too much like big things to complain about. Like there's a million tiny little things you could go on about, but there's not a lot of major things.
Right.
I
Cool.
think I covered it.
All right. Well, we've been at it for an hour and 25 minutes now.
That's not as long as I thought it would be.
Is there anything? I mean, if a foreigner is watching this right now, or if maybe a Taiwanese person is watching this, curious about their perspective of a foreigner experiencing experiencing Taiwan through a foreigner's perspective, is there anything that you think that they might not know that they should, or
Well, okay, so I made a video specifically addressing that. So if you want like a comprehensive list, then go check it out. And I
okay?
think it's titled appropriately. Like if you want to move to Taiwan, like think it through first, or consider this, something like that. The title is something along those lines. So they can check that out. Just if I can summarize, do a little bit of research first. You don't have to like research every single little thing. Do some research first. Be prepared for struggle. It's not easy. Like we've already said, it's not easy at all. And I think have a long-term plan, right? Like I didn't really have a long-term plan. I'm just kind of like making it up as I go, right?
Yeah.
And that's been like good in some ways, but probably harmful in other ways too, right? So it's probably better to have like a long-term plan, right? And then if you can, make sure you do the things that you want to do, like the major things that you want to do before you get married, before you have kids and stuff like that. So like if you want to come here and like get a master's degree, which I've had friends do it.
Right.
And do it before you make those big life commitments, like with a wife and kids, right?
Yeah.
If you want to learn, if you want to learn how to speak Mandarin, if you want to learn how to read and write in Chinese, do it. Like study. That's something I wish I did. Like I'm not capable of doing that now because of my family situation, right? And with the money and everything. But it's something I wish I did before, right?
So
I wish I
getting
had.
your
I
master's?
wish I had. No, to study, right? To learn how to read and write Chinese, to
Oh,
learn how to
got it.
speak Mandarin to a very good level, right?
Yeah.
Like if I was where to be where I want to be, not where I am now, but to be where I really want to be, right? To where like I'm not like a philosopher, but where I can hold a really good, interesting conversation, not just like a basic conversation
Right.
about like where you come from and what you like to eat, but like a really interesting conversation. Like if somebody asked me like, what do you think about, I don't know, X, Y, and Z, like what do you think about the COVID-19? What do you think about Taiwan? What do you think about, like conversations like that,
Yeah, right.
important conversations,
They
right?
go more in depth for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
deeper things. Like I wish I had taken a formal class, right, with a teacher and a textbook
Right.
and done that before I had kids and a wife. Back when I was capable of doing that, when I had the time, when I had the disposable income, right?
Right.
I do it, please do it. Like that's one of the things that, especially here, right? I think if there's any place in the world to study that subject, is here, right? This is probably the best place in the world to do that.
Yeah.
Especially because here and you'll appreciate this, here is authentic, right? It's real. We're
Yeah.
not simping over here. We're not simping over here. We have the real deal,
Yeah.
okay? Like we got the real deal. It's spoken the way it should be, okay? There's no R. Okay? It's spoken very, very
Properly.
yeah, it's spoken not, I don't
Correctly.
want to say properly, but it's spoken in a way that flows nicely.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
flows nicely.
I
It
appreciate
doesn't
that.
assault my ears. Okay? Like
Yeah.
in the writing, where
Yeah.
you use traditional characters the way they were meant to be written, the way they were meant to be seen, right?
Thank you
Not
for
like
that. I appreciate it. Yeah.
the simping thing that they do over there where they take like the character for love and they take the heart out.
Yeah.
You took
Yeah.
the heart out, man. Like that was one of the things I saw on Twitter or Facebook that I thought was the most like impactful for me. I was like, you took the heart out. Like you took out the most important thing, right? You took the character out of it. You took the soul out of it, right?
Yeah.
And you just left like this like utilitarian thing
Yeah.
that has it doesn't have I don't know, like, you know what I mean?
I
It
know what
doesn't
you
have
mean.
that certain thing,
Yeah.
that magic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I absolutely yeah. Like when you said the soul of the word, I think that actually makes sense because
It's the soul of the language. You know what I
you
mean?
when you read, as I like to call, real Chinese,
You realize we're both offending like huge amounts of people right now, right?
but I doubt they're yeah, whatever. You
Not
you
that they're watching
yeah
this, but in case they do,
yeah.
they're
I
gonna be
don't.
really pissed off with both of us.
Yeah, I don't really care. But when you when you read what I call real Chinese, you can sort of tell and feel that this language has been this way for hundreds or thousands of years. You can
Yeah, it's fascinating.
and
It's fascinating.
you
And
could
it's
read
evolved
you can
and
read
like
ancient Chinese scrolls like depending on how old they are, you know?
you have to study, you have to practice at it, but yeah, it's possible. It's
Yeah.
possible,
So
right?
I totally
And
know.
you can derive like even me who's like, just this Westerner who's like, only has a simple grasp. Some characters that I don't know, I can still kind of derive the meaning from
Yeah.
because there are hints.
Yeah.
There's little hints in there, like, oh, there's the radical for water, right? There's the radical for earth. There's the radical for like, this, that, and the other thing. You can kind of tell, like, oh, that's probably a fruit,
Right.
right? Because it has this radical. That's probably a vegetable. It has this radical, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can derive the meaning from that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, not to keep stomping on this, but yeah, the simple. I think simplified Chinese is corrupted and perverted. But anyway, I forgot how
Yeah,
we. I
stop
forgot
shaming people.
how did we get to this topic about Chinese?
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
right, right.
I was talking about studying it and
Yeah,
how it's important to do that, and that this is the best place in the world to do that.
right. Okay, so the last question I'm gonna ask you is there are plenty of foreigners living in Taiwan, whether they're from the UK, Canada, United States, Europe, Africa, other parts of Asia. If you had to speak for the foreign community in Taiwan as a whole, um,
Just Westerners or literally everybody?
either or, you can pick. If a native
I'm probably not
Taiwanese,
qualified to speak for everybody, but
yeah, just
I'll
speak
try my
whatever,
best.
yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. If a native Taiwanese person were to be watching this, what do you think that they should know or be more aware of um, about people like you in Taiwan?
We're not perfect. We don't come from the land of milk and honey. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have an outdated view of what the United States is or what the West is in general.
Hmm.
The streets are not paved with gold. It's like I said, it's not the land of milk and honey. You don't just find success around every corner. We have our struggles too, and especially here in Taiwan, there's a lot of hidden struggles that they don't have any idea about. They have no conception of at all. That they just don't like. They just have no idea about. Like simple things are not simple for us because of our legal status. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Just
okay, in
getting a bank
Taiwan. Yeah.
just getting a bank account, right, is a struggle. It can be a struggle. Okay. Getting a phone plan, it can be a struggle. Staying here because of the fees that you have to pay for the visa and all the things that you have to put on the application, blah, 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 is a struggle, right? Getting family or friends here, if you wanted to get like a dependent visa, it can be a struggle. Like there's all these things, right? All these things that we have to deal with that they don't have to deal with, that they're not even aware exist, right?
Mm.
Like I've had a lot of Taiwanese people go, "Wait, you're married? Aren't you a citizen? Can't you vote? Hey, Brian, did you vote? Who did you vote for?
Mm.
Did you vote blue or green?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And see, they don't know. Like they have no idea. They're like, they think because you got married, like bada bing, bada boom, you're a citizen, right? It's not even close. Like not even close. It's not that easy.
Mm.
It's not that easy at all. Like I'm not just welcomed into the club like that. Quite the contrary, they're keeping us at an arm's length. Okay, like
Yeah.
even in these times of population decline, which has already officially started, they're keeping us at an arm's length, right? So there's a lot of like hidden things like that. Just be aware of that. Okay, like it's not perfect. We are not perfect. We're not rich. We're not millionaires. We're not perfect. We have struggles. You don't see them because they're hidden and they're legalistic kind of things like that, but they're there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, not to I don't know how I feel about like ending it on on sort of that sort of message, but
Well,
I guess.
and if they want to go to the West, then I wish them well too. And I've
Of
had friends
course.
who've done that successfully, so
Yeah.
it can be done.
So yeah. Well, how? Okay. Yeah. So how? If you were to summarize and summarize your 8 years in Taiwan and sort of give your last words to Taiwan and its people, what would you say?
Oh, I don't know if I'm ready yet. I mean, I'm not literally leaving at the moment, but
True.
I mean, I won't remember it exactly, but there's something I typed that I tried to explain kind of the way I was feeling about it. Like I don't hate Taiwan, not even close. I love Taiwan. It's given me everything. It's forced me to grow up and get better in a lot of different ways. It's changed me in a lot of different ways. I love Taiwan, and I'll always love Taiwan, and I'm coming back to visit. There's no way that I'll never come back, right? To visit and see people again. But I'm not living my best life here. Like I'm not the best version of myself here. I can't be the best version of myself here. So I gotta go. But I love you, and I'll be back.
All right. Sounds good.
I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope that anybody watching this, hopefully, they've gotten a chance to sort of see what it's like being a foreigner in Taiwan. Maybe learn something, a thing or two. Yeah, and I guess our next episode will be on your channel, American in Taiwan. Yeah, that's what it's called. I thought,
Yeah.
Right,
I haven't
yes.
changed it.
Yeah, American in
It's
Taiwan.
still what it is.
I'll leave that the link to your channel in the description, and
Yeah, cool. There's some things that I would have talked about here, but it doesn't really fit the topic. But
and we'll
fresh off the boat, Eddie Wong.
yeah.
We gotta talk about Eddie Wong.
We'll do that on your channel.
Yeah, we should.
All right.
We should. There's some media things like that I want to get into. So
Yeah, absolutely.
look forward to it.
Yeah. All right.
It'll be good.
Well, it was nice talking to you, and
Yeah, same here, pal.
hope everybody has already had a good start to the 2021, and yeah,
Just getting started.
Yeah.
Just getting warmed up.
Yeah, I guess we'll see everybody in the next episode on American in Taiwan. I'll leave the link to his channel in the description below. All right, take care.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.